So yesterday, I talked about restless mind, worry or regret, or then I talk about the things, how is it like, how does it build up, what is it, or what is the characteristics of this restless mind. That I said that this is a kind of a thinking mind that it doesn't stop. It just carry on and on and on, and sometimes a lot of, it tag along with a lot of unwholesome, many other defilements. Then, as a vipassana meditator, we also need to differentiate between just what is not a normal thinking mind and a restless mind. A normal thinking mind, that when you pay attention to it, it disappears. But when it's a restless mind, you pay attention to it, it will still carry on. So we need to learn to deal with it. We need to learn to deal with it in order for it to disappear. But to do it, we need to do it in a skillful, wholesome manner, not suppressing it. If we suppress it, it will boomerang back, then it will hit us even more problems. So, here, as I said, in the first thing, we need to acknowledge it. At least there's some degree of small mindfulness that we are already aware that is already there. If you cannot aware of it at the first place, then you'll be caught up in all the stories and all the content of the past, present, or future. Then, when you're able to acknowledge it, then we must able to see it as it is. That means we begin to label it as it is, if you can. Because if you are not familiar with it, then you know that this is a characteristic like that, then you label it. Restless, restless, restless. Or thinking, or planning, or memory. The third thing is that you must learn to accept them. The acceptance of it is a very difficult part, because a lot of times we are overwhelmed by this restless mind, thinking mind, and so on. And when you come to a meditation center, when you start a meditation, after a number of days, you see that sometimes the restless mind can go on and on. Then it will sort of like negatively affect the yogi. But the yogi here is all about acceptance of it. Because acceptance of it is part of mindfulness. Without acceptance to these hindrances, then you will have a lot of problem. You're going to learn, you will suppress them by anger or dislike, by ego and so on. Then, if you're able to accept them as they really are, but then it doesn't mean that they will disappear. A number of times, many times, in your practice, a lot of times it doesn't goes into restless mind. The moment you're aware of it, it kind of disappears. That one, well and good. Let it go. But when it doesn't disappear, then you must have skillful techniques, skillful ways of overcoming it. So yesterday I mentioned that the first thing is by the way of vipassana. Directly pays attention to it. See its characteristic, how it change. How, as if like when you pay attention to it, when you are not in the story, you are not in the content of your thoughts, then you see how it change one after another. You see one story, it passed through, it passed through, it passed through, it passed through, it passed through. Sometimes you see how it becomes faster, the changes of the thought. Sometimes how it becomes slower. Sometimes it just drags itself through. There are different characteristics, different speed in the change of this restless mind. But on the noting side, when you pay attention to it, Because of the restless mind is where a lot of where the unbalanced type of effort is there. When there's too much effort here, the wrong effort, the mind becomes very agitated. Very agitated, then it goes into restless mind. So therefore, we need to bring down the agitation, to bring down that effort. In order to bring down the effort, we need to bring the calmness in. We need to bring the calmness in all, and yet at the same time, the mindfulness and the clarity of the mind is still there. Not that you become too calm and then you do not know anything at all. That also is wrong. But calm enough that you can able to see the restlessness passing through. So you note it as thinking, planning, while the object may change a bit faster. So this is something that you can try. Finally is about to bring that whole restlessness to come to a stop. It's the only thing in this whole meditation that you bring to see them how to bring it into a stop. So this is one way. So another way is that by the way of Vipassana also, that here also we don't really pay attention to it directly. We are aware of it that it arises, but now you bring your attention to different parts of the body. Say, for example, the in-breath, out-breath. You begin to slowly, gently bring back the mind to the in-breath and out-breath. For a few times, then it goes into thinking again. Bring it back, in-breath, out-breath. So you have to go to and fro, until the mind comes down on the in-breath, out-breath. Then later part, when the mind comes down clear, then you go into the rising and falling and see all the nature or whatever sensation that comes up again. You stay with it, the in-breath, out-breath for too long, then the mind goes into another extreme. It goes into sleepiness and so on, drowsiness. So we just stay enough for the mind to be free from that restless mind, thinking mind. Then, or you can use the rising and falling, or you can use the sitting and touching also. So there are a number of ways. You gently pull the mind back down. And to continue, there are other ways also we can able to notice this restless mind. Now here is in the relation with the body. This time you still pay attention to the restless mind as it change from one thought to another thought, one thinking to another thinking. Now, after a short while, sometimes you notice that your body starts to tense up. The head starts to tense up, or the neck starts to tense up, or the shoulders starts to tense up, or the kind of like sometimes even you put your hands, palms together, the palms also like feel like it's all the tension is there. Here the acceptance part also is important. So therefore, right now, you don't go and lose the tension yet. Your job is not about losing the tension for now. You pay attention to how the restless mind. Then you notice the tension. You notice the restless mind, you notice the tension. Restless mind getting more, sometimes the tension also getting more. Sometimes the restless mind getting less, then you can see that the tension also starts to relieve itself. It starts to let go. And then sometimes it increases again, you feel that the tension also build up. It may be the forehead, it may be the neck, it may be the here and there. So here, a lot of times, yogis do it wrongly. Because every time when this tension comes up, what usually a yogi do? You will tell yourself, relax, relax. You tell yourself, relax. You want to relax everything off. Not to say that you are wrong, but you are not really doing it right. Because you are not seeing the connectivity, the connection between the restless mind and the tension that is appearing in the body, or the pressure that appearing together. When they comes together. When they disappear, sometimes both of them disappear together. Here, when you begin to see the interrelation of them, then you see the conditional aspect from one object to another object. We may think that, a lot of times you may think that, what is the big deal about noting in this way? If you're now out there, if you're not a meditator, you may think that, sure, of course, when you work a lot also, there's a lot of tension also. When you go out for work and think, there's also a lot of tension, a lot of pressure also. So what's the difference between out there and inside here? There's a thinking a lot, there's also developed tension. There are two big differences here, and yet a yogi usually don't see it. Because when you're out there, you see it as with an I. I am thinking and I am having the tension. You don't see the conditional aspect of it. Here, we see the non-self aspect of it. Although it's give rise to the same thing, the condition is the same, but when you pay attention to it, you see it from the perspective of non-self. That is a major thing, although when you're out there and inside here, it looks the same thing. But the perspective of looking at things is very, very opposite from one to another. From when you're out there and when you're inside here. So that's why whatever that arises in this body or in this mind, even that little tension that you have, even that little movement, your body also tilted one side and so on, don't underestimate them, because they are sometimes, if your mind is clear, they are part of the whole development of insight. So you take notice of them. When you take notice of them, you learn to accept them. You don't try to push them away. You begin to embrace them as they really are. Then you see the whole connectivity. Then you find that the mind is at ease with all this restless mind and tension. With the clarity that arises, slowly and slowly this restless mind will start to fade off, because the mindfulness begins to take over the mind, not the restlessness anymore. So if you're able to do that, it's a wonderful, wonderful skill that you can have. Sometimes also, not only this tension that you should not just shake it away, not just pull it away, but at times you must learn to embrace the tension, pressure, and see how they are all connected within this body. There will be times also, sometimes you are doing sitting. When you are doing sitting, sometimes your body is bent a bit, slightly bent forward. Every time, especially new yogis, bend forward, quickly must pull it back again to straighten. Bend a little bit, also want to pull it back again. Bend a little bit, want to pull it back again. That also is not very right, actually. I mean, if it's just a 1 hour sitting for throughout the whole day, just one time, maybe you're not too wrong. But for a vipassana yogi, if you want to go deeper, even that little bend that you have, that slightly forward that you have, you should not put it back again. Because sometimes you will see that sometimes you try to pull it back again, you will bend forward. Then you try to pull it back again, try to bend forward. Your whole intention inside your mind is that you want to sit upright, straight. Sui, Nice. Very beautiful. Upright, straight. So everybody look at you, wonderful. That's your whole intention. But you are not seeing the truth. You are taught to sit straight. Yes. In the beginning, starting, you taught to sit straight. Yes, you sit straight. You sit proper. But as the mind become more clearer, there are forces inside the body. Is pushing on the body here and there. The wind aspect, the wind element is trying to push the body. Sometimes the side a little bit, front a little bit. If you bend a little bit, it doesn't disturb your noting, keep it there. You should not go and disturb, go and cut out the whole thing. So sometimes you see a yogi bend until like that, you don't go and laugh at the yogi. You're going to demerit all the unwholesome merit out there. People are trying to be mindful here, very clear, and yet you see, you look at that yogi. Oh, Ben, what type of yogi is this? Oh, you think you're pandai, you think you're smart enough. A lot of times we don't really understand because we always think what is right. We don't see what is happening right in front. We always think that this bending is not right for me. All you're thinking. So a lot of times, all these small little things, we don't take note into it. Therefore, a lot of times our mindfulness keep breaking. If we just stay there with the body is bent a little bit, slightly bent a little bit, then it's okay, If so happen it bends too much, let's say, and then it affects your mindfulness, it affects your clarity of mind. That time is a right time for you to make an intention to straighten up the body in order for the mindfulness to become clear. Other than that, if it doesn't affect the body, just stay there a little bit. So sometimes you may see that some yogis may sit bend a little bit, sideways a little bit. It's perfectly all right. This body is totally imperfect, but yet you want to make it very nice, very good. Some yogis have a very straight posture. They are more interested in the straightness of the posture rather than the rising and falling or whatever that's appearing. They're always sort of like straight or not. Close the eye. Straight. Every 5-10 minutes, I keep on looking. Okay. I come back to the restless mind again. Now, in this restless mind again, now, if you have samatha practices is a wonderful practice. If you have time to do some metta or karuna or mudita or upekkha or other type of samatha meditation, if you can spend time with it for a while and repeatedly you do it, sometimes it's going to be very useful for you when you comes into dealing with this restless mind. Because by the nature of samatha, it gives rise that certain degree of calmness. That calmness is also very useful when your everyday life. Now, you see, in your everyday life, you thought that you always to do vipassana. And I know that sometimes you sit down there, your mind is even not clear for that 1 hour. Sometimes blur, sometimes clear, but you try to meditate. No, sometimes what you can do is that you change a little bit. You change to metta, for example. You've been taught to do metta in other places and here, then you bring up that metta. Spend, for example, you half an hour to do a metta. May I be free from harm and danger. And you try to develop it sincerely, carefully, and then you truly mean what you go through. Sometimes, a lot of times, yogis just, may I be well, may I be happy, may you be well, may I be happy, but all kosong one, all empty one, you don't really feel for it. If you don't feel for it, there's no metta, only words only labeling only. So you must really genuinely feel that. You say, if you mentally you mention mentally you label it as may I be free from harm and danger, then you must mean it that you are free from harm and danger. If this group of people to be free from harm and danger, then you mean it. You sincerely wish them to be free from harm and danger. If let's say after that they get knocked something, that's not your fault, Not because your metta is not effective. That's their karma already. Your job is just to radiate. Radiate that wholesomeness, that happiness here. So now, And then everyday life when you are doing, when you are driving, when you are in your office, when you're doing these things and doing that, then you can always bring that metta into the everyday life. Instead of sometimes we use those everyday life to argue with others, to be jealous with others, and to be judged in others, and you go to your office, you see, nothing but all the unwholesome mind. Sometimes you go even not only in the office. Sometimes you come in a temple also. You look at others. You want to judge them. What is she doing there? How come talk to the monk so long? What did she bring? What she bring more than me? All the judgment mind. We cannot be happy for others. We have to judge people. We have to opinion and all this thing. These people do that. That people do that, and all kind of things. Of jealousy around here, and every big temple. Not just around. As long as a human being is there, the defilements are there. So what I'm trying to say is that try to fill up, instead of all your nonsense in your mind, fill up with some wholesome mind. Fill up with metta. Fill up with compassion. Fill up with some mudita. Fill it up with some sense of urgency. If you're able to do that, it would be very helpful for you, instead of going into thinking of all kinds of nonsense. So in that change, it will take you a certain time, over a period of time, when your mind is so much more softer, so much more pliable, so much more softer, so much more pliable, then your restless mind throughout the day become much more less. And yet, when you need to think, you can think with precisely, carefully, without going into all kinds of tension and overthinking and overjudging, and so on. So if you have a chance to develop some degree of metta, that will be very good. Some degree of samatha meditation, it is very good. But my advice is that you don't get attached to it. They are just for the sake of mental development, not the sake of attachment to the calmness and the pleasantness that comes together with it. And sometimes also with the metta they thought that they have, and then sometimes if they are not careful, the ego also come up. They think that I got more metta than you. You see, all these people, they are very angry. They don't develop metta. They should develop metta like me. Then again, all the ego also come in. So if you're not careful, the defilements also could able to come in. So my advice to you all, do some metta, do some samatha meditation, interchange with your vipassana. If you don't want to do it a metta or all these things too deeply, but do it more generally and do it more frequently. And then it'll be very helpful for you to make the mind more clearer and softer. Then next time when you come to a meditation, then the mind is so much more ready for the meditation, for vipassana. Because it's softer, it's easier, and the mind is more open, less stress, less problem, better condition for the vipassana to develop. Now, there are also, when it comes with the restless mind, but you see, restlessness, uddhacca, restlessness is quite in the Abhidhamma is what we call a common or your universal defilement, a mental defilement. Because this restless mind, it comes with every defilement. When you are greedy, your mind is still very active. You're thinking a lot. When you are angry, also the same thing. When even you are sleepy also, next time when you are sleepy, you see that the daydreaming, you do not know what you are thinking. You're kind of like passing through a lot of thoughts. So a lot of times when you are having jealousy or even wrong view or anything, the restless mind goes with it. It's either whether it is more the front or sometimes behind. But it comes together. So when the defilements comes in, sometimes they come in as a group. They don't just come in just because you are having a desire for the food. Doesn't mean that it's only desire. But the background also is there are restlessness of the mind. That's why the mind is become wild and active at this time. So too when you are worried about your past, or you regret about your past. When you say you regret, it's like something that you have not done. Something that's supposed to be, you are supposed to do, but you didn't do it. Then in the future, you regret it. Then you're not supposed to do, you did it. Then you regret in the present. You see? That is what we call regret or worry or udaj or kukucha, the Pali word. You regret. So here, when there is a regret there and a guilt is there, then again, when you do into your practice, then the state of mind also comes up. The restless mind. The story will keep on going and going and going. But this time, sometimes it tag. The sadness tag along with it. And the sadness sometimes can be very overwhelming, very grieving, very, very, very heavy inside there. Yeah. Something that you are supposed to do but you didn't do, but then you regret. Suppose you need to say sorry to other people, maybe to your parents, you talk, but then pass away already. Then here you regret, then you sit, then you cry. Yeah. There are a lot of times we go through those type of things. A lot of times we sometimes also there are past memories that we do not want to see anymore. Kind of like in certain part of our life we want to cover up that memory. But when it comes into Vipassana, that's the thing that it begins to uncover everything, whether you like it or you don't like it. Because when the Vipassana becomes clearer, or becomes more deeper, the mindfulness becomes clearer, concentration becomes clearer, your memory of your past also becomes clearer. As if like those things that you have not thought of it in outside there, then when you come in here, it kind of like open up and shows you very clearly what you have done. And sometimes also we try to manipulate the story to cover up. Nevertheless, this type of state of mind, for some people, it affects them very much. It affects them very much. Every time you think about them, cry. You think about somebody died, your parents died, cry. Every time talk about it, cry. Every time talk about it, getting angry. Every time talk about her, you get jealous. Every time about her, you want to kill her or whatever, or anything harm towards her, or you get sad, or you get worried, or you regret. A lot of things, it gets connected with it. Every time you sit down there, those thoughts affect you. It can last for an hour, 2 hours, and so on. You walk, sit, next day, it still come back again. So it's very hard for us to deal with it. So the same technique, when these things, we need to deal with it. If we don't deal with it, it's going to be very strong in us, and it's retreat after retreat, it will affect you. So we have to change it. Now, a lot of times we try to suppress it, and this is wrong. We are not here to suppress any of the thoughts. What we are here is that how the mind relates to the thought. That is how we need to change, not the memory. It's not the memory that we're going to change. The memory is part of the whole thing. The Buddha or the Arahants doesn't mean that they have no memory. They have memory about the past. If they have no memory, then something is wrong with them. Dementia, perhaps, Alzheimer. Then that is something wrong. It's not about changing the memory. It's about changing how you relate to those memory, those sadness and so on. So what do we do right now? So if those things arises and it becomes prominent to you, let go of all the other objects, then pay attention to it. This time pay attention to it. Again here, you don't go into the story. You don't go into it, and you have to remind yourself, don't go into it, don't go into it, don't go into it. Just see it as just a memory of the past. While you're noting it this time, the anger, for example, or the regret arises. Then you notice it. Regret, or anger. Sometimes even you note the regret. The tears arises. Then you note tears. You see how the whole relationship taking place. And you pay attention to it again and again. In the initial part of it, it is very dukkha, very painful to face these things. But you have to do it. You pay attention to it again and again until you really know that you cannot do it. Okay, well, at least you try. Here is that you need to try. And the next sitting again and the following sitting again, perhaps it comes in again. It comes in again, you keep noting it. Sadness. The memory will just keep on going. The sadness or the anger or the regret keep on coming. So you pay attention to it. So you only pay attention to it in this way. What will happen in future is this. As the mindfulness gets stronger, clearer, many times when it gets stronger, clearer, then what will happen to this memory or this terrible memory that you may have, they become equanimous. That when it arises, next time you note it, the memory is still there, but the sadness is no more. The sadness no more or the regret no more, but this time it's just only mindfulness relating to it. The mindfulness relating to it. So, when the mindfulness relating to the sadness at this time, then all this unwholesomeness begin to disappear. It fades away, and every time that memory comes in, it doesn't affect you anymore. The anger, the jealousy, the regret is all disappear. This is how you can able to change by paying attention to it. But as I said, it's easier said than done. In the beginning part, it's going to be difficult, but you must persevere. Because when you persevere, whatever thoughts that come in, those difficult thoughts can come in, you can able to handle it much more better than before. So this is why that we recommend to you to pay attention to all these mental states. Don't underestimate them, because before you can able to reach or to realize enlightenment and so on, all these states of mind, you need to handle them. You need to manage them. You manage them in order so that this doesn't become a stumbling block, a big hindrance for your progress. Now, as with this, you are able to mindful and keep on going. Then this type of memory doesn't mean that you don't have it, but because it becomes equanimous and it's not affecting you anymore. It doesn't come in so frequently. Once in a blue moon, it only will come in. Then because it doesn't affect you, it's just like another memory of the past, another random memory of the past, and that time we just can go on with the practice. So this time it is important for us because it will help us to disentangle a lot of our entanglement inside, that we have carried from the past. So this is one way how we can able to deal with it. Now, there are also at times that there are restless mind that comes in, and it comes together with skeptical doubt. Skeptical doubt and the restlessness, although both of them also a lot of thinking, but restlessness, it just goes random, and certain thoughts, it just go and go. But vicikicca, or this skeptical doubt, when the more you think on a certain thing, you become, your confidence or your sense of your clarity becomes so blur. Then you think that, hey, should I sit or should I not sit? Am I enlightened or not enlightened? What did they say? Oh, am I doing it right, not right? That type of mind, you keep going. And then the more that you think, the more that your mind become very shaky. Your confidence become very shaky. Should I meditate? Should I not meditate? Should I go back? Should I stay? What should I do right now? That type of mind. That type of mind is what we call a skeptical doubt. But it comes with a lot of thinking. A lot of question mark inside there, but cannot be answered. Cannot be answered. So this skeptical doubt also, we need to address them. Again here, now, skeptical doubt is one of the worst hindrances. Because this skeptical doubt, when it arises strongly, you will pack your bags and go back, and you will not come back again. Just like, for example, pain. After noting pain, if you are wrongly able to know, how come so many years already I meditate, still got pain one? Then my friend meditate so nicely, no pain one. Cannot be one, alright? So something wrong with me, or something wrong with the method. Then all the skeptical doubts kept coming in already because nobody guide them. Then they entertain those type of thinking, and one of these days they gave up on meditation. And many of them are like that, honestly. And many of them over the years also I've seen they're walking, sitting, and then all kinds of tension arises in the body. And then what they say is that they don't blame themselves, they blame the method. That method of meditation is wrong. This Mahasi method gives rise to all this type of tension. How could it be? Meditation should not be all this type of tension. They do it wrongly, but then they're doubting the method. And then after that, they do all kinds of very easy method. Okay, sit down. You want to drink coffee? You can drink. You want to drink tea? You can drink. Anytime you want to drink, you want to sit, you sit. You don't want to sit, you don't sit. You want to walk, you walk. As you like. Then when you do that, sure, there's no tension. Very pleasant, very nice to do. Yeah, carry on like that. Perfectly all right, up to them. So, a lot of times the doubt when it comes in, if you keep entertaining that doubt, you're going to be careful. You're going to have a problem. But there are certain doubt. If you are not sure, therefore you need a remedy with it. And one of the best remedy, you need some people or some instructor or some of your good friends. You need to clarify. You need to open up. You need to open up your doubt to them, and then hopefully they will help you to overcome these doubts. So, another thing is that you must also read. Of course, you must read properly. If something you're not sure, you got to ask. In the beginning of the practice, there's a lot of doubt. You're not sure whether you should walk like that, or you should walk like that, you should go here, or you should go there, you should do this or do that. A lot of times, there will be doubt inside there. Now, one of the things, if you have doubt, and at certain times you may not able to access to an instructor or a teacher yet. What I can tell you is that, first of all, as best as you can, clear the doubts away. Clear the doubt away in the sense that bring the mind back to the body. If you are noting the mind, let's say the mind is like chi-chi-cha-cha. Is this the right meditation object or not the right meditation object? How come the meditation object is appearing in this way? Is it right or is it wrong? How can it be? If you're not very sure, come back to your main bodily object. Come back to your primary object. When you come back to your primary object, when you are comfortable with it, a lot of times those doubts will disappear. And then later part, when you are able to access to a teacher or an interview, then we can able to discuss about it. We can open up and we can discuss and clarify. So a lot of times you may not able to access to a teacher, so you must learn to push all your question mark aside. Don't try to attempt to answer your own questions. A lot of times, just because you have a little bit of knowledge, you want to try to all the question mark inside, you want to fill up with all the answers inside, your own opinion, your own judgment. So this can be dangerous. So put it all aside, those questions. Come back again to the body. The body is more safer compared to the mind. It's a safer object because the body doesn't think. Mind thinks. So this is one of the few things about restless mind, that you need to overcome them together with other defilements also, other hindrances. But prevention is also another thing we must consider it carefully. Not just trying to overcome only when it's there. Prevention. One of the biggest problem with restless mind, it comes up, is because of your communication. You actually communicate with another yogi or a teacher or even your mobile phones, your internet, your tablets and so on. Sometimes you may realize once in a while that after interview you go back and sit and see, inside there. Because there's conversation, there's discussion going on. But of course, that sometimes for a short while it kind of disappear. But sometimes yogis, when in certain places that I've gone to, then when when the teachers don't emphasize on to be quiet, we are not supposed to talk with each other and so on. Then if they don't emphasize that, then we actually see that the yogis come in, go to the room and start chit-chatting and all that thing and so on. After that, they want to come into sitting. The mind is so restless. So sometimes a small conversation of 5 minutes or so, it can give rise to 5 hours of restless mind. So as best as possible, when you are in the actual retreat, forget about talking with others. As best as you can, you give up on conversation with others. If you need to converse with others, keep it short and simple and keep it mindful. Be aware of your talking. Be aware of your intention. That what you want, and as you finish, you do those things, keep your mouth shut already and carry on meditating. Nowadays, of course, with our tablets, with our mobile phones, this is a big problem. In almost like every places that I've gone to, the teachers start to take up your handphone, mobile phone, your toys, you cannot play with all your toys anymore. And they put them in a safe. There are places who did that, So far, I haven't do it yet. But who knows in the future, There are places I've seen again, because they thought they are smart enough. So they bring 2 handphones, 2 mobile phones. They give one to them and one they keep. We also know what all the nasty things that they are doing inside there. So what for? And you know my style already. You can always circumvent it. Finally, it's your own retreat. It's not my retreat. You cannot progress. It's your own fault. Whose fault is it? I'm happy. My job is come and teach you. If you do not want to follow it, it's your business. If happen for me to catch you, that's it. I'll just send you to the gate. That's it. What's the big deal about it? I don't go and think about it. This finally is your own retreat. So if you don't realize that it's your own retreat, and then you want to go and do it for all these things, your restlessness come in, your progress doesn't come in, that's your own fault. My job is interview, thinking, I help you, calm down. But after that, you're thinking again, whose fault is it again? Your fault already. So finally, it's your own retreat. This is your own retreat. This is not my retreat. We create a condition for you to come, and you make the best use of it. So it's good that all these things, as I said, put it all aside. Communication, you put it all aside. You take your meditation a bit more seriously. If you don't do like that, no matter how many teachers you are in, their attitude is trying to meditate few hours, then you must go and check your WhatsApp. Must check your internet. Must check what is in the office, all that thing. Habis, gone. All your mindfulness. Then restlessness is going to be a lot. Another thing is that the restlessness is that I said, you need to slow down. Slowing down of the body is also very helpful. Helpful in the sense that if you rush, your bodily movement, if you keep on rushing, it conditions the mind to think very fast. Therefore, it goes into restlessness. So here, while we are here, how slow is slow and how fast is fast? The slowness here is all depends on the condition of the mind at this moment of time. So you must not be as fast as you are outside there. You must be slow enough that the mind can able to follow comfortably. If you go too slow in your daily activities and all the things that you are doing, if you go too slow, the mind become very stressed and the body also become very stressed. And that also is not right because the mindfulness is not coming in. But if you go too fast, then you are rushing, again the mindfulness doesn't come in. So therefore, you must, at that particular time, you must learn to be a bit more slow. So sometimes there's a bit slower, there's a bit faster, a little bit slower. Sometimes the speed may change a little bit according to the time of the day, according to the situation. So you slow down. You don't swing your arms. You put you don't look here and there. Keep your eyes down here. Then it's going to be very helpful to you to prevent the restlessness from coming in. These things I've mentioned the first day. The first talk, usually I have to remind yogis, but I need to rub it in. I need to rub it in until you realize that how important those things are. All these small things, don't underestimate it. Then again, your daily aspect, your daily mindfulness, then you have to bring in the mindfulness towards that you're noticing, the opening door, closing door, and so on. Those mindfulness, because when you have that mindfulness, it prevents all kinds of thinking coming in. Now, with that daily mindfulness that you have, that daily chores, and you'll be mindful, even if you're eating mindfully and so on, let's say by 12 o'clock or by 1 o'clock, without doing much of a walking meditation, you are already ready for the sitting meditation. Because the mindfulness is really built up on the other aspect of what is going, other aspect of your life, eating, showering, brushing teeth, and so on. By the time you do all those things, 1 o'clock you come in, you're ready for this one. You don't worry about, Monday, not enough walking Monday. Oh. You should be ready. You think that all your eating no need to be mindful? All these things is part of the whole thing, whole aspect of it. So you got to be ready for it. So these are some of the things we need to look into. All right. Now we look a bit into the next aspect of the hindrance. We take a look at sloth and torpor right now. Now, sloth and torpor here is the opposite of a restless mind. Restless mind is one of the restlessness is because the energy is wrong energy and it's too much. It's too much, it gives rise to agitation of the mind. Whereas when the sloth and torpor is there, you don't have the right effort or lacking of the right effort. Okay? Restlessness is because there's too much wrong effort. If you have right effort, proper effort, then it doesn't go into restless mind. If you have lacking of the right effort, then the sloth and torpor will creep in. It's one of the factors. Therefore, in the restlessness, we need to calm the mind down. But in the sloth and torpor, the drowsiness, we need to increase the effort, the right effort. So how are we going to do it then? Now, before we look into it, let's look into what is sloth and what is torpor. What is tina and what is mida? According to the Abhidhamma, tina, it affects the consciousness. Mida affects the mental factors. What does it mean here? What do you mean by affecting the consciousness? Affecting the consciousness means that your consciousness becomes not clear. When it comes in, your consciousness, your awareness become very blurry like that. And blur, nothing clear, nothing this one. Whereas when it affects the mida, when it says it affects the mental factors, means that it affects, let's say, the mindfulness, the concentration, the wisdom factor, the effort, the energy. When it affects them, it makes them lose their function. It loses their function. That means the concentration will lose its function. It kind of like cannot able to hold on to the object properly. It keep on dispersing. The mindfulness loses its function because it cannot really see face to face with the object. It begins to lose its function. The penetrative mind of a wisdom factor also loses its function. It becomes very weak or not clear at all. This is Abhidhamma. Yeah. So it's not easy for you to go in. Hey, this one tina or this one is mida coming in? Am I affecting this and that? All you see is all darkness only. All you see is all heaviness at this time. So when it affects it, just for us, for knowledge's sake, it affects different aspects of the mind. But when it comes, they come together. When they go together. Okay, when they both of them come together. This is two different aspects of a defilement. Two kinds of defilement, but because they come together and they affect the same thing, the same way of overcoming it also, therefore, the Buddha put it as a hindrance. A single hindrance, but two types of defilements inside there. All right? Two types of defilements inside there. A single hindrance. So here these two when it comes in, it affects the yogi. Most of the time what you see here is that the sleepiness, very heavy type of sleepiness, heaviness of the mind. The mind kind of like sink into abyss, dark and gloomy inside there. So this is when it becomes heavy. But this is what most of the time you know. It becomes heavy and it's dark and it's not clear. You thought that this is the only sloth and torpor that is. There are also other type of sloth and torpor that your eyes are actually open, that you are actually alert, but you still have a sloth and torpor. You still have tina and mida. That is the weak type of a tina mida. That one, what you experience one is all the heavy type of tina and mida. So both of it also, its weak part and the strong part, this both also as a yogi, you also must know their characteristic. So these characteristics of sloth and torpor, as I said, first few days you're going to have it. First few days when you come into a retreat, you will have a lot of this sleepiness. Then you have to go through it because the sleepiness may come in from the tiredness of your body and other factors also. Your body is not adjusted to the meditation, walking, sitting, and so on yet. So you need a few days for it to adjust. But after a number of days, once in a while also, 1 or 2 sittings, there may be sloth and torpor still coming in. But compared to the first few days, it's so much more less. All right? But 1 or 2 sittings may still come in. So that's those sittings. This time we need to deal with it. We need to deal with it. If not, if you don't deal with it, then you get very frustrated. Then the confidence about the meditation will also become shaky a bit. So you must learn to deal with it. So this sloth and torpor, for a lot of people, especially Chinese, you have less. Because everyone pia, that type of go type of attitude. So the sloth and torpor you don't. But you have the other extreme of restless mind. But once in a while, I do see yogis, but not that many, but kind of like a chronic sleepiness. Every retreat comes, the problem of the yogi is not the thinking mind. The problem of the yogi is the sleepiness. But this is a very few compared to the restless mind thinking. So this one is very few. Now this one, they have to deal with it more carefully. Many parts that I've teach retreat, a lot of people have to deal with more of the restless mind. But certain parts of the world that I've gone to, although I don't teach, but there's a lot of laziness in them. Especially the men. The women are very hardworking, but the men are very lazy. You see a general population. You see the woman is working. Then the men sit in a coffee shop and drinking coffee. Like lepak there, nothing to do, take a sweet time. In many parts of the world are like that. If you keep your eyes open, they don't want to do anything because they like sit there, relax, and so on. Let the woman do it. Let all the women do all the work. So, anyway. Now, when it comes to this meditation, as I said, all of us are affected one time or another with it. So we need to deal with it. Most of the time, as I said, it's the heaviness type of sloth and torpor when it comes in. So when it comes in this heaviness type of sloth and torpor, when you're beginning to mind is so unclear. Just now I mentioned there's two defilements, tina and mida. Now sometimes, just for discussion's sake, sometimes the tina is more clearer than the mida. Sometimes the unclear part of the mind is more stronger than the non-functional part of the mind. How do you put it clearly? Sometimes the mida, the torpor, is more stronger than the mida. But when they comes together, but one of it can be stronger than the other one. But sometimes both of it can be equally strong also. That's why sometimes when it comes in, you find that the sloth and torpor, if you begin to pay attention to it and it's heavy, sometimes you feel that it's kind of a different type of sloth and torpor. Sometimes the sloth and torpor, you notice it is very dark. Sometimes you feel very heavy. Sometimes you feel that the mind doesn't want to work. That type of thing. You're still alert, but it doesn't want to work. Sometimes you feel that it's kind of like very sinking deep inside. Sometimes you feel like your lights of your clarity begin to cover up like a blanket, slowly cover it. That's it. You start nodding and so on. Sometimes you become heavy, the nodding comes in. Your movement of your head comes in, your body becomes slumped a little bit. Those are characteristics of sloth and torpor when they become heavy. So now is that when you pay attention to those things, you see its characteristic. If it's heavy like that, you notice it's heavy. If it's dark and gloomy, then you know dark. Sometimes you feel that your mind is not really working. You're not working. You don't try to be smart. Hey, this one is tina or this one is mida. This one is sloth or this one is torpor. Let me see. Don't go and try to differentiate these two. No point, because they're going to come in many different ways. But if you want to know, next time, the type of mind, it comes in very blur, and then your awareness is very dark, then this is more like a thinner type. A thinner is a bit more. A sloth is more heavier. That means it affects the consciousness a bit more than this one. Sometimes you find that if your mind is not really working, you want to note something, but it kind of like doesn't want to go there. You know that you're not fully sleepy, but you're still somewhat alert, but it doesn't want to work. That is more like a middle type, a topper type. So, just for knowledge sake, But it's interesting. Once you're able to begin to pay attention to this state of mind, it will show you a variety of sloth and torpor. And it makes your meditation become interesting. You look forward for sloth and torpor next time, I hope you don't, But it comes in, at least you know how to pay attention to it. You see its different characteristics. This is how you begin to note the sloth and torpor. You begin to enter into the nature of sloth and torpor. So too, right now, the 4 steps that I've mentioned earlier on in the restless mind, this now is equally you apply to it. Equally you apply to it. Forgot. Before we talk about the step, I want to talk about the weak type of sloth and torpor. The heavy one, a lot of times you see it. The weak one is where it's very difficult for you to see it unless you are alert enough. It kind of like that. It doesn't come as that sleepiness, but it comes as the mind is just lazy. The mind doesn't want to work. Although the eyes are open, you're alert, but it just doesn't want to work. You can sit there as if mindfully, but your mind just don't want to do anything. You just sit there. It doesn't want to know whether sitting, or chewing, or you said biting, man, you just... Your eyes are all open, You can be sitting down there, then the rising, falling come in, then... What is there anymore, The mind just doesn't want to put an effort into it. That is also sloth and torpor, but it's difficult to catch it. Sometimes, like, for example, you lie on the bed, Yeah, supposed to be time getting up, you're like, give me 1 minute, Eyes are already open. 4 o'clock already, supposed to wake up. Maybe wait for them, then I let them shower first. Then only I wake up. Oh, sure. Your eyes are already open, but the sloth and torpor is already inside there. Well, sometimes, for example, you sit down, Then if you're alert, you're still in a way alert, but the mind doesn't want to work. You just want to sit there and let everything be. That is also another name for sloth and torpor, but in the weak form. So therefore, you must learn how to catch hold of that weak form. The weak form type of sloth and torpor is like compared to your thinking. You know the thinking, then it disappears already. That time, this one, if you can able to catch it, that sloth and torpor, it also disappears. But the heavy one, just like a restlessness and a heavy type of sloth, and are still there. That one is a heavy one. But the big one is difficult to catch because it's just passing through, and it thought that it's just okay, nothing, no problem, easy. That is the sloth and torpor, and it comes in a more weaker form. So when we're able to differentiate these two, we're able to differentiate these two and all those things and in between. Therefore, when we begin to more aware of them, therefore it is important for us to overcome them in a more proper manner. So, again here, the 4 methods. And tomorrow I'll explain a little bit more. Here again, you need to acknowledge it. That it comes in, you have to catch it first. Whether it's the weak one or the heavy one. If you don't even able to catch the weak one, it will become stronger and stronger, and it will become a full-blown sloth and topper. If you don't catch it. So finally you need to acknowledge it. At least it is already there. It's already there. It already arises. The first initial contact on the sloth and topper. So this is the first thing. The second thing again here is to label it as sloth and topper. Or you acknowledge clearly this is already arising. So you begin to take note of it. You think to take note of it more clearly right now. Or you put a labeling there. You put a labeling there. Yeah, very helpful. Lazy, or sleepy, or you note it as dark, heavy. I begin to put the labeling there. The third thing is this acceptance of it. Now, the acceptance of it here, also we need to address it a little bit more. Because this sloth and topper, if you don't accept it as it is, a lot of times yogi think as a big disturbance to your meditation. Because the attitude of looking at these hindrances as disturbances. Then, when if we can able to accept it, then we must learn to overcome it in a skillful manner. So tomorrow again, we're going to look into different skills in order for us to overcome the sloth and topper. Not just overcome it, but we turn it into a meditation object and begin to see their true nature of the sloth and topper. Right? So we stop here for the night. We'll continue tomorrow.